think like no one else feels.
Yeah. I really want to do like a DACA conference. Like
girls, that's why we have Dream PSU.
As like
here too.
Like as Dream PSU, like it's something I want to tell you, like it's something in the making.
Okay.
I had a meeting with Roberto Danda, and he was saying like, yeah, you guys need to like establish like a legacy. Like you need to create like an annual event that like happens every single year, because then like when we leave, like there's that structure there, like kind of like in TAT, like they had all that's why TAT was so easy to continue to like keep going, because it was like there's already those established events, like you do those things every year. So
but okay, I'm gonna go now.
Yeah. Okay, have fun with your campaign.
Yeah, of course. Good luck with your paper.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you both. And you will have access to everything.
Bye.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
Even I saw you yesterday.
Let me know if you ever just like want to talk.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Same. We just need to get some wine and cheese and just hang out one
Yeah,
Friday
we
night.
need to do that.
My impact. Wow. Okay.
Bye, Fatima.
Bye. Fun time camping. Okay. I know you already got like a preview of the questions, so hopefully like you've like been thinking of something
I've
to
been
say.
trying to think, but it's like everything she said is like yes.
Yeah. It's just like slap the table.
Like I second that.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started with the top one.
Okay.
Do you think your mental health improved when DACA was passed and when you personally attained it? Were there any differences that you noticed in yourself, like sense of security, self-esteem boost, just like feeling different than you had before?
To be honest, I don't think it affected my mental health yet. It did eventually, but not right when it happened the first time. Mostly because the first time it happened, I was still kind of like naive about it. All I knew was that like I didn't even take the step to say, oh, I want to apply for that. Like my parents took that step for me, and they were like, no, it's like not a choice. Like you have to take it. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And like at the time, I just don't think I fully understood what it meant. And then like once I started to like realize, especially like when the whole college thing, like applying for school and stuff happened, I was like, oh shit, like I do need this. Like this is important. But I think it did, in a way, help me. Like I felt like I was helping my parents and helping their mental health and helping their like sense of security for me and even like for them too. So I think even though it didn't affect me like individually yet, it did contribute, yeah. And I think it helped my family and it helped us build a better like communication about what it meant, like what it fully meant for me and them to like be undocumented and like all these like political things that were going on, and like that just started a conversation, because before that like they would be like, oh, like come look at the news, like this is going on and that is going on, but like we never fully had like conversations about it and be like, okay, like this is what it means for us. And like now it's, of course, like we talk about it, like there's no conversation that we have where like something political doesn't come up. So I think I think even though it didn't individually help me yet, I think it helped them, and I felt like I was helping them, and that just made me feel better about it.
How has your mental health changed in any way under the Trump administration specifically? I know you said that like in the recent like 2 to 3 years, that's when you have very like come to the realization that you struggle with all of these like mental health issues. Were those issues like elevated during the Trump administration? Like did you notice any increases because of that?
I did. It started, I think, when when like elections were going on. I think it started affecting me a little with like my family and just how I felt about my family and like our security, especially with like just like the culture that I was building, like like the culture I was building for my little brother and for my parents, and like my parents were scared, and like my little brother was like like scared, like literally scared, being like, oh, like what happens if you guys like get deported? Like he would say things that, like as a parent, and like even though I'm not his parent, like as a parent you hear it and you're like why is like my kid talking about that? You know, like he's just a kid. Like it should be like his innocence is like being taken from him because of these things. And I think that created stress for me and just like worry about them. So I think that's like where it slightly started to affect my mental health. And then it didn't affect me like fully until those months where DACA was taken, and when there was just a lot of stuff going on politically. And I think it like increased it because early that year is when I started to have like depression and anxiety because of school and because of just like not knowing where I was going. And that point in the year, I was just confused about like my future and like what I wanted. And I was, in a way, I was stressed and I was anxious that like I just didn't want to keep going in school, but at the same time like I was pressured to finish. And for a while like I almost dropped out, and like even though I wanted to do all these things, like I just didn't feel like I was meant to be here. And then so like I kind of lived through that for like most of the year, even though I kept trying and I kept like having an internship and I kept working and I kept going to school. That when that happened is like when it really hit me, and I was like, okay, like why am I here? Just like Fatima said, like what am I fighting for? Like I'm just tired of fighting, and I'm tired of school because I'm tired of making it like my entire life. Like school for us is like our entire life. Like we don't have the choice to be like, oh, like I don't want to do that, I want to like be a photographer, I want to do like this and travel. Like we don't have that option. Like either we get a higher education or we go work in like a minimum like wage job, or like, you know, like somewhere where we're just fine. So when that happened, I think it just like triggered it even more. I think it triggered anxiety, and it triggered a little bit of depression, because I was just worried, and it affected like just what I thought about of my future, and even like what I thought about my future, and like not just regards to school and like my career, but just like with my partner and with my family. And like I remember at one point I told my mom, like, I don't care, like if we're meant to be like gone from this country, like if we're not meant to be here, like I'm okay with that. Like I was coming to that acceptance that, you know what, like I don't care anymore, like I don't want to be here anymore, if that's what like all these things are pushing us forward to. Like I don't care, I just like, let's just leave, let's just go to Mexico, like let's just live, you know, like fine, like we have a house there, we'll be fine. So like I was already like giving up, and I think in that way like it just affected me a lot.
Do you think as an undocumented person you can experience politics without being reminded that you do have an undocumented status?
No, I don't think so. It's really hard to like Fatima said, to have a different perspective. And like even with not even politics, but just like any little thing in the government or in politics, it's hard to remove your identity from it and know how it's not going to affect you, because everything is going to affect you at this point.
Have you ever felt your life threatened by policies?
Yes, because of our status. Because every day you feel like you can literally run a red light, and if a cop stops you, that's like it for you, if it's a bad cop. Like there are just so many little things, so many like just simple life choices and daily things that we go through that are a big trigger for like how policies are going to affect you.
And I know like these questions are all very similar, but how do you think you experience politics as opposed to someone who is documented?
In a way, the difference is that we can't run away from it. I think it becomes part of us. Like, unfortunately, it messes with so many different things.
Yeah.
Like mental health, for like an example, it messes with that, and it messes with our family structure, with our our growth as human beings, our growth as like from children to adults. It just messes like so many things that go on in our lives that someone with documentation maybe would never think of affecting them.
If you were granted full citizenship tomorrow, how do you think that would impact your mental health?
I think it would impact it in a very positive way. It would definitely, it would make me feel safer, feel happier.
Yeah.
It would make me feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and like the things that I want to do are like the actual dreams that I have for myself are achievable. And yeah.
Do you think there is a relationship in between mental health and the experience of being undocumented?
Yeah, definitely. There is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Going along with that, I know that throughout this interview, we talked a lot about how being undocumented kind of affected your family structure and how you never got to experience like your full childhood, like you felt like that was taken away from you. Do you think there was any like trauma from that kind of like was built up throughout the years and like carried out into your adulthood?
Yes, I think there was. I'm trying to think of like an example, but it definitely was, and I don't think how like it wouldn't move on.
Yeah. Like, do you ever find yourself trying to make up for that lost childhood, like at this age, like being 22, like, because I know you have a little brother, like, how does that kind of shape your relationship to him?
I think even though I like unfortunately had to go through that, I think it shaped it in a positive way, because now that I have him, and he has someone that's capable of giving him what I couldn't have, or even like a sibling, like having a sibling was something I didn't have. So like it's helped me become just like mature in a different way, because in a way that's also another thing that affects this like trauma. It's like you have to mature, like you have to take care of yourself and under that status, and you have to take care of your family, and I think that's like the biggest effect it has on us.
Are you currently on any mental health medications that you are taking since you were diagnosed?
I recently just finished. I wanted to take like a break from it, but I was, as soon as I was diagnosed with it, I was on medication for it. And I think just like the change of like changing little things in my lifestyle, and like changing the way I do things and see things, and like relieving a lot of like stress, like whether it was good or bad, has helped. But yeah.
So when you were taking that medication, what was your experience like getting a hold of that medication, or even seeking out other kinds of mental health resources, therapy, all of those? What did the process look like for you?
I think it took a while, because a lot of the obstacle was like health insurance. It's really hard for us to have health insurance. It has led up to me having to like pay out of my own pocket, and it has affected like when I choose to go to the doctor and when I don't, because every time you go you have to pay for it, right? And if you don't have the funds for it, you end up like prioritizing like what's more important in your health, because you can't afford every visit or every bad thing that's wrong with you, like you can't afford to go like see a doctor for. So I think it took a while, but thankfully I got health insurance. I was able to go to the doctor, and it was actually diagnosed because I eventually went to the doctor for my leg, which was like I had sciatica, and apparently like having back, well, it led to my back.
Yeah.
And having like a lot of back issues and childhood trauma apparently leads to a lot of mental illnesses. So it was like a double diagnosis of that. So in a way, I was thankful that I was able to get health insurance and go see a doctor for my leg, and then like figure out that was also a cause of it.
Yeah. Have you ever found yourself prioritizing your physical health over your mental health? Like with those visits, since you said they were very limited.
I think at first I did.
Yeah.
And then luckily my insurance situation changed, so I had to, like, I was able to not prioritize certain things.
Yeah.
So now I'm not in that situation, thankfully. So now I feel like I can go, whenever I need to. But lately I feel like I have been prioritizing my mental health over my physical, which is not great because it kind of goes hand in hand. So.
Yeah. With your health providers, is your status something that you disclose to them? Like specifically, have you ever seen a therapist or a psychologist?
I have seen one, but that was the last time I saw one was in middle school or like high school.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever brought that up. But now I think it's definitely something I would talk about when I see one, if I do.
So do you currently see a therapist or a professional that you speak to about your
my
status? Yeah, and like what it feels like going through that.
No, not yet. But I feel like if tomorrow I go see a therapist, I would definitely bring that up or talk about that.
The last question, do you think the government has an obligation to create an access to citizenship to improve mental health as well?
Yes. It's like, I'm still trying to think of an answer.
Yeah.
Can you read me the question again?
Yeah. Do you think the government has an obligation to create an access to citizenship to improve mental health as well? So, like, I can give you an example. Like, if I was arguing these are all of the reasons why the government needs to create an access to citizenship, do you think mental health should be one of the reasons on that list?
I think it should. I think because clearly, like, it has affected individuals and it clearly has affected our community and so much part of our lives that it's something you can't just neglect or avoid.
Yeah.
And I think mental health in general should just be something taken more care of by our health like providers and just policies and government within the health industry. Like, it just needs to be.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you would like to add? Any questions for me? Anything you just want to know? Or if not, we are done. No?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. Fuck all of you on this audio. Oh my god, that was 18 minutes. Since
Really?
Fatima left. No.
What?
God damn.